Hey everyone, welcome to Math Talk. I'm your host, Brian Heisler, and today we're going to continue the series on GED math practice problems and look at graphs and functions. So let's get started. I have an example here that asks you two different things actually. It's very similar, each question, but it is related to the same equation. It asks you to determine the slope of the line parallel to that equation and to determine the slope of the line perpendicular to that equation. So there's a trick to looking at information about parallel and perpendicular slopes, and so let's find out what that is. First thing though, I need to find the slope of the equation that I have. And so this equation is in standard form, which is, let's see, 4x minus 3y equals 10. So standard form of an equation is ax plus by equals c. And so there's a trick to finding the slope of equations in standard form. The slope is actually equal to negative a over b. So you don't have to manipulate the equation or anything like that. You just have to know what's a, what's b, and plug them into this little tricky fraction here. So a in this case is going to be 4. I'm going to write a right there. B is actually going to be negative 3. And so I just need to take that information and plug it in. So my slope is negative a, which is negative 4, over positive b. And then so b is actually negative 3 here. So a negative over a negative is a positive, so I'm going to simplify this to 4/3. All right, so that's the first part. The slope of this equation is 4/3. Now what's the parallel slope and what's the perpendicular slope? So parallel slopes, any slopes that have, or parallel lines have the same slope. And so the easy one is parallel. The slope is the same. It's going to be 4/3. Okay? The perpendicular slope, to find the perpendicular slope, there's two steps. One, you flip your fraction. So I'm going to write it as 3/4. And then you change the sign of the fraction. So it's positive here. I'm going to make it negative. It's a two-step process. And that's all it is. So the perpendicular slope is negative 3/4. All right? Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have what's called a negative reciprocal. You flip the fraction, change the sign. So let's look at one more example related to slopes. Okay? So we have an equation that is listed here as a couple of different examples. And they ask you, what's the equation of the line that passes through the points -1, -3, and +4, 7? And I like problems like these because they give you actual answer choices. You pick A, B, C, or D. Because usually what's going to happen is there's a distinguishing piece of each of the examples or answer choices that make it either very easy to determine that it can't be an answer or very easy to determine that it can be an answer. And so as I look through these examples, a little trick is to look at, is there anything that's different in every one of these? And I see in every one of these, the slope is actually different in every single answer choice, which means only one of these could possibly be the answer. If that's the case, all I need to really do is figure out what the slope between these 2 points are, and then I know my answer choice. I don't need to figure out what the rest of the equation is, because whatever slope I get has to be the one that has, the answer choice. So let's find the slope between these 2 points. Going back to a previous video I've done on slope, I know the equation for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to plug in those values to figure out my slope. So y2 is the second y value, which in this case is 7, minus the first y value, which is -3. And then the second x value is going to be 4. And the first x value is -1. Okay? So 7 minus -3 is like 7 plus 3, which is 10. 4 minus -1 is 5. And 10 over 5 will simplify because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I know my slope has to be 2, which means I need to find the equation that has a slope of 2. In this case, it happens to be the first one, which means this has to be my answer. It can't be any of the other ones because they have different slopes. So it's a little trick to keep in mind when you have answer choices to choose from. There's usually some distinguishing factor that will immediately allow you to either remove it as a possibility or keep it as a possible answer and help you figure out what the answer may be. So I hope this tip, along with the other examples, helps you out as you get to these equations and examples, and thanks for watching. If you have any other questions or you need assistance and you live in the Palm Beach County area, visit our website at geds.com to find a location near you and sign up for classes.